Sup everyone, Dark Scream 217 here, and today I'm going to talk about my thoughts on Dangan Ronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc. And before I go into big details, I want to give out my quick summary thoughts of the game for those who don't want it to be completely spoiled for you. So for guys who want to avoid spoilers, before you leave, I will tell you that yes, I did really like this game. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the atmosphere and the mystery and the trials. The gameplay is a whole lot of fun. It's a very linear game, which I'm a little disappointed in because I prefer branching storylines and alternate routes in a lot of my visual novels. But for what it was, I actually did enjoy the story that was in the game. And it really did not cheapen the experience for me altogether. And the trials are fun. They had some weird, quirky gameplay mechanics, like the bullet time battles, which are a little interesting to say the least. But if you have a PlayStation Vita, I do recommend going to a GameStop or some game store that has this and pick it up there, or you can download it digitally. It's really fun. The sequel is already it's already making its way to the States, and later this year in the fall, which is I'm already anticipating. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Dangan Ronpa. Now you guys can pause the video and comment, or you could just click on the back button. Now for everyone else, I am gonna go into spoiler territory. Heavy spoilers, and I'll try to keep it exclusively spoiled to this game because I also kind of sort of want to talk about Virtue's Last Reward, but problem is that when I talked about spoilers in my last video, somebody didn't like the fact that I gave away a couple other things other than the topic in question. So I'm gonna try to keep exclusively talking about Danganronpa, but like I said, this game reminds me of Zero Escape: Virtue's Last Reward on so many levels. All right, with all that said and done, now we can go into the meatier territories. So Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc. I've heard about this game a long time ago, back when I just got my PS Vita for brand new. And I was getting into games like Virtue's Last Reward and Corpse Party, and I was looking for some more visual novel-esque based games for this handheld, or at least something for the place that could be found in the PlayStation Portable store. And a couple of my friends were talking about Danganronpa, how it's like one part Phoenix Wright, one part Persona, and one part VLR. And I was like, wow, this sounds like an exciting game. I wonder if it has made a release here. It's just not that discussed. It's just not that talked about, much like Corpse Party. And it turns out the game is what was still exclusive to Japan. And apparently people know about this through some Let's Play from Something Awful or some shit like that. And I was a little disappointed because the game was like really super popular over there and even has a sequel. And I'm like, fuck, why don't they try to bring it over here? Well, about a month after I made that video asking why Danganronpa hasn't been localized, they just immediately announced that Danganronpa was coming here to the States. So I got a little excited, got hyped, watched a few trailers, saw that it was actually coming out in February, put a reserve for it, picked it up. I was like, nobody's stopping me. Ron White, that's where I got that quote from. And popped it into my Vita and played it. And like I said before a couple times, I think it's a great game, though I do have some criticisms for it. But the game is, you play as Makoto Naegi, who is just an average, everyday, ordinary student. That's one of my first criticisms about the game. Not against Makoto himself, it's just that I seen a lot of anime, especially in recent times. Whenever I look up previews for upcoming anime and the following seasons, there's always some fucking description about some boy who's just an ordinary high school student, some bullshit freshman. And it's just so fucking obnoxious to see. And then when Makoto actually described himself to that extent, I got a little annoyed. And unfortunately, the Makoto, the character you play as, isn't really the most interesting character out there either. Everyone else is actually a little more interesting. But anyways, he gets, because of a lottery he won, he gets transferred to an awesome academy called Hope's Peak, which only takes like the best of the best of the best, I think it was just all over Japan or all over the world. I think it's just exclusively in Japan. And they would take like the best students who are like who excel in their like field of expertise. Like they have an ultimate novelist, an ultimate biker gang leader, an ultimate martial artist. For Makoto, because he won the lottery, he was known as the ultimate lucky student. So he got a little hyped to check out Hope's Peak Academy. Well, all of a sudden, Makoto, he loses consciousness, and he wakes up in a classroom sometime later, and he reunites at the front entrance with 14 other students who all got listened to Hope's Peak. They couldn't. They kept checking the windows. Everything was like locked and barred. Well, it's not barred. Like they actually had like some really reinforced walls covering up the windows and everything. Like there was no way of leaving except through this giant ass vault door, but no one could find like a crack or a weak point to get out. But anyways, they reunite at the gym, and they meet a talking bear that kind of looks like Two-Face. No, seriously. His left half is black, and he's got a little lightning bolt eyeball, and his right side, he just looks like a white stuffed bear. And the bear says his name is Monokuma, and yeah, they for the translation of this in the English dub, they actually didn't change his name to Mono Bear or Mono Teddy. They actually just kept it straight and called him Monokuma, just like in how he's called in the Japanese version. Well, he says he's the school's headmaster, and he says that all the students have to live the rest of their lives in this academy, which shocks and upsets everyone. But he also said this, that you can leave by graduating, and the only way to graduate is if you kill another student. Everyone's a little shocked and confused about everything, and they just try to go on a little bit about their lives. And for the first few days, everything was actually going all right. Nobody had that. Nobody didn't hate each other all that much. At least, driven to kill. Despite the fact that Monokuma would actually like entice the players by giving them special weapons in their. Well, it's not special weapons. The boys get toolkit, and I forgot what the women got in their drawers, but they were supposed to be used for killing each other. But for the first few days, everything was going just fine and dandy. Everyone's looking for places to escape or where to locate, and everyone's actually being friendly with one another. However, this upsets Monokuma, and what he would do every so often is find a way to entice the students in order to actually drive them to commit murder. And I'm gonna, like I said, if I haven't warned you guys already, spoiler warnings. But Monokuma, like the first time around, he actually gave everyone individual DVDs that's supposed to like get them worried and have one of them to see what's going on in the outside world. For Makoto's case, he saw a DVD and it showed his family, mom, dad, and sister, and all of a sudden, it showed an image of their house being ransacked, emptied, couches damaged, and their family was nowhere to be seen, which concerned Makoto a little. And everyone else, well, you don't know everyone else's video except for the character who actually dies, Saika Maizono. Apparently she's the ultimate pop sensation. That's her title. And her video showed like her her group members, like, they show him dead on the floor, but Monokuma was saying that, you know, her group is like no more and stuff, and this upsets Sayaka because this is actually like her whole life and everything. So she actually tries to, and again, spoiler warning. Seriously, if you're in the middle of the game, if you haven't completed it yet, or even haven't gotten to the first chapter, or completing the first chapter, please click the back button. I'm going to give the... Please. I don't want to get yelled at for this. But anyways, Sayaka gets murdered even though she tried to kill someone else, who eventually becomes the murderer himself. And she tried to frame Makoto for it too, by switching bedrooms and, by switching bedrooms. However, this plan backfires on Sayaka, and the person she was trying to kill ends up being the killer himself. Murders Sayaka, and then you start off your investigation. You look for clues, you gather, and your clues turn into truth bullets. And yeah, the another thing Monokuma mentioned after the murder was committed is that they have to, the students then have to go to a class trial, and if they are able to guess who is the murderer gets punished for their crimes. If they guess wrong, everyone else dies, and the killer, you know, is free, can leave Hope's Peak. Well, I'm not gonna go point by point. I'm not going to try to summarize the entire plot. I just want to give you an idea of, you know, the first, you know, hour or so in the video game. But anyways, let me talk about the Persona comparison bits. In between chapters, you are given something called free time mode. And it's and you can have it like twice in a day. One in the daytime, one in the nighttime. And this happens for like 2 days in a row. So you basically have 4 free time events per chapter, save for the last one. And you can actually use that time to hang out with any of the other surviving characters. And then afterwards, you can give them a gift that you can grab from the Monokuma machine, which is this little one. I think it's one of those gashapon balls or something like that. You put some money in, you turn the machine, you get an item, and the more money you put in, the less chance you'll get a duplicate item. But yeah, you can gift the characters that, and if they'll like it, Makoto will actually mention it. Sometimes you won't know if they like it or not. I mean, and then there are times where they're like, "Man, just throw this shit in the garbage. What are you doing?" And afterwards, if the characters would actually open up and talk about some secrets and stuff, and you learn some more, about the character. And afterwards, the report card would be updated. And you would gain either extra skill points or new skills that you can use during the class trials. By the way, Monokuma dressed up like a gangster rapper. He never does that in the game. I just found this in the artwork gallery, and I just got a good laugh out. That's why I'm using that image as a screen. I just think it would be funny for most people. And I'm trying to look for a thumbnail to, you know, hide in my videos because I am going to use a few screen caps, and I don't want to, you know, give away the spoilers just from the thumbnail itself. That would be kind of fucked up. But where were we? Oh yeah. So that's where the Persona elements come in. You hang out with people, you give them a gift, you learn something about them, you get new skills, and you could tell if you're if you max out their report card. I'm gonna say you actually check your updates through your character's report cards, and it actually gets updated based on, you know, how much they develop. And you can tell that they're completed if they have a gold star next to their name. And some of the characters have a lot of report card fillings to them. Others are pretty short and quick and to the point, like Sayaka Maizona's. She was the one I first maxed out quickly, and not surprised, she's the first person to croak too. But there was also another one, Toko Fukawa, which took forever. I gotta double check, but I think I had to hang out with her like 7 or 8 times in order to max out her report card, social link, whatever the hell you want to call it. But even though you're given a limited amount of time in the main storyline, after you complete the game, there is something called school mode, which is a little addendum where the students are all the students are alive and well in the game, and they spend 50 days gathering resources for Monokuma to make duplicates of himself or something silly like that. It's basically a little bit of it's a little micromanagement game thing, and there are new Game Plus things where their level stats carry over and stuff, so it might be a pain in the ass the first time around, but it gets way easier, in succeeding playthroughs. And the stuff Monokuma has you construct are pretty funny. Like, he got one called the Monokuma Casanova, which is him dressed up like, in a really nice suit. Then he's also got the entertainment system one, which is basically Monokuma as a Furby. People are already scared shitless of the new Furbies with the digital eyes. Now, picture a Furby with Monokuma's little black and white skin tone on that thing, and I'm pretty sure that will give you some nightmares. But the purpose of those school modes is that you can, after you do the resource collecting, you could spend the second half of the day with one of the other characters, spend time with them using a trip ticket, and then, talk to them a little bit, or you can just spend time with them regularly like you do in the main storyline, and then you could just max out their social status and shit like that. I'm in the middle of doing that just so I can max out everyone else's. I believe I got Sayaka, Toko's, Junko's, Chihiro's, believe that's what I got so far. I am fixing to get Mondo and Sakura's. You know what? I really should talk about the characters, actually, before I talk a little bit more about the other parts of the gameplay. I mentioned before, they're about the altogether cast of, 15 students, including Makoto. Ultimate pop star, baseball star, ultimate martial artist, yada yada yada. And all the characters have very outlandish designs that do have them differ from one another in terms of appearance. So everyone looks very unique and very individualized in their own way. Nobody looks close appearance-wise. Nobody looks closely. Nobody resembles like another person that closely. Save for 2 other characters that I'm going to talk about somewhere at the end of this video, because it's actually the culprit. It's me revealing who done it, but you got one character that's supposed to be the ultimate psychic, and he is the dumbest person in the entire game. You thought he was a pretty chill dude, but this guy is an idiot. Yasuhiro, man, he makes me laugh a few times because of how dumb he is, but it blows my mind that he's the ultimate sidekick, is what I'm trying to say. But you also have you also have this one other character who is the ultimate question mark. It's supposed to be a mystery, but after the first class trial, you pretty much find out that she's the ultimate detective. How do you know this? Because in the class trials, she actually helps and guides you and gathers clues during each case and investigation. So she pretty much knows everything firsthand, and she's really good at what she does. So yeah, they try to keep it as a mystery, but for some reason, I don't even know why they did that. When it was pretty obvious that she was a detective. And another character you have, which I have displayed on the screen cap, And yes, that is a woman. That is a female. But apparently she's the ultimate martial artist, Sakura Ogami. And she is so freaking ripped, and she's so ripped as hell that she looks like, just by looking at her, she looks like she could take on the likes of Kenshiro or Akuma from Street Fighter. And she might actually do a damn good job and probably win a few matches. She's so badass that, I know I'm saying spoiler alert a whole times, but yeah. I know she's badass, but unfortunately, she dies. But she doesn't get murdered by another student. She actually commits suicide herself. However, during her trial, trying to find out who killed Sakura, it was actually, I did assume at the beginning of the trial that she did commit suicide, because it was revealed by Monokuma that she was actually a spy for Monokuma, and she didn't do her job because she really considered these people to be her friends, and she just didn't feel like betraying them. However, Monokuma revealed that, tried to cause some uneasy tensions. This upset Sakura, and Sakura decided to have like one more meeting with some of the students, and she would just, end it once and for all by, just killing herself. She does this by drinking some poison that was found in the biology. No, it wasn't the biology room. It was in the chemistry lab, I believe. But the way that trial worked in the game, it was because of the clues and the other stuff that happened before she finally killed herself. The entire trial just basically has everyone saying, "Yeah, I killed her." Then it turns out that person didn't kill her, and then another person would come out and say, "Yeah, I probably killed her," and then all of a sudden the other person would say, "Yeah, I killed her." And Kyoko's like, "Wait, hold on a second." And, well, first off, it starts off like this. Like, the psychic I mentioned, Yatsuhiro, he got really paranoid and decided to clock Sakura over the head with a Monokuma bottle in the rec room. And then he writes Toko's name in blood to make it look like she did and ran off. Toko, who was hiding in the locker in the rec room earlier, because she was a little nervous, sees the blood coming out of Sakura's head, faints because, what did I say, hemophiliac? No, well, she's afraid at the sight of blood, and then she faints. However, here's the kicker about Toko. She actually has a dissociative identity disorder, and she has a secondary personality that is a serial killer. In the Japanese translation, she is known as Genocider Seo. Dangan Ronpa, the English translation, they originally have it translated as Genocide Jack, and you find out about Genocide Jack in the second trial, because when the victim's body was discovered, the victim's body looked looked like the patterns of Genocide Jack's victims, and it was revealed that Toko is in fact a Genocide Jack. And whenever Toko sneezes or faints, her other personality, Genocide Jack, would show up. However, because it's revealed that Genocide Jack is in fact a woman, they kind of changed her name to Genocide Jill this time, and that's what she's referred to about 90% of the time whenever she's shown. And in this personality, her eyes go from like a light shade of blue to like completely twisted looking blood red. She ends up developing like a foot-long tongue out of her mouth, and she likes to kill people with her custom-made scissors. Scissors that she takes so much pride in that she really hates using other scissors. If you even mention other scissors in front of her, she'll get a little pissed off. But before I continue with the Sakura trial, another thing I want to mention that makes me laugh regarding Genocide Jill. One of her emotion images, one of her poses, is the funniest thing I've ever seen. She actually has a pose of her violently sticking her scissors out like she's ready to stab somebody. But what really makes me laugh about that image is her tongue. She actually makes a spiral loop with it. It's the silliest thing I've ever seen. Well, I kind of sidetracked there. Back to the Sakura trial, and why I thought this is the most insane of the trials, because of how everyone's just ready to get up and say, I did it. But Genocide Jill comes out of Toko, and then she smacks she smacks Sakura over the head and tries to clean up her evidence, and then runs off. But then I believe Aoi had found her, talked to her. Sakura says she needs some protein because she's addicted to that stuff more than Akihito was in Persona 3. But then she deliberately trapped herself and decided to, commit suicide. However, she did have a suicide letter, but it was actually switched by Monokuma. He does read out the real suicide letter after the trial, but they immediately tears it up because it might give away evidence of who he is. By the way, Monokuma's a fucking dick. I'm just gonna say it right there. There were times I really, really hated that stupid bear. Especially even though Sakura died, he decided to set up a punishment trial for an aide that was supposed to help the students out in Hope's Peak, but Monokuma discovered it and destroyed it immediately. That really pissed me off. But yeah, that was a really interesting trial, and I like that trial the most because one of the characters I have to mention, Byakuya Togami, he is like the Seto Kaiba of the characters. Like, he's a very intelligent dude. He's also like Kyoko. He's also trying to work actively to figure out some clues, and try to solve this trial to make sure, to make sure to make sure the killer doesn't get away free while everyone else dies. And he wants to find out the identity of the headmaster as badly as everyone else, and he would put his family name on it. And I believe, I forgot what it was, I forgot what his rank was specifically, but he was like the ultimate perfectionist or something like that. The guy is a fucking asshole. I really don't like him. He always talks shit on Makoto. He doesn't always talk shit on Makoto, but he likes to berate him and likes to put him lower than he is. He likes to put himself on a pedestal more, and he was just an arrogant son of a bitch. Do not like him. However, I do think I'm not entirely sure on this because I don't see a whole lot of Dangan Ronpa fans. I don't communicate on the forums and stuff, but I have a feeling he's got an army of fangirls because of his Bishonen appearance and his little stoic asshole attitude. But the reason why I like that trial is because Byakuya thought that Aoi Asahina, who is the ultimate swimmer and who was the friend of Sakura, he thought she was the one that killed her. But then when Kyoko reveals a vital clue that changes everything, the guy who would always stay calm and collective, he actually gets a little upset and agitated. I'm like, ha! Fuck you, asshole! You're breaking. You suck. So that's why I like that trial the most. The trials themselves, they have various different gameplay modes to them. The biggest one would be the non-stop debate mode. It's basically it's where it would have the characters talking to each other, and you have your clues. The clues that you gather are known as truth bullets, and you're given 1 to 3 different bullets. And your job is to shoot a particular phrase or a particular phrase that contradicts the murder situation, and they are highlighted in gold text so you know where to shoot. And if you use the wrong truth bullets or shoot the wrong contradiction, you actually do lose. They call it something else, but it's basically your health meter. But you actually lose some of that, and if you lose all of that, then game over. You lose the trial. You can actually continue from the last gameplay mode. And then, if you guess correctly, the trial continues, and Makoto will point out some, new facts for everyone else. And then you also have some other gameplay mode. Well, they're not really. This isn't really a gameplay mode, but it's basically a multiple choice. Sometimes you're given multiple choice questions. You have to guess the right answer. That's pretty simple. You also have Hangman's Gambit, which is you playing a game of Hangman, and you have to guess which letters go into what phrase. And then Makoto will think about the clue, and again, the trial continues. And God, what was another gameplay mode? Then you're given another. You might be given another question to answer, but instead of giving multiple choice, you actually do have to look through your file to see what clues can you gather, and then finally, there's something called the bullet time battle, where you confront one of the members of the class in the class trial, and it's weird. You have to lock onto their phrases and shoot them down in this weird rhythmic pattern game. And then sometimes you also have to press square to reload your ammunition. It's a little fun game. It's pretty entertaining. The silliest parts of the trials, I will say. But I had a lot of fun to it. And the music that they use for the bullet time battles are pretty fun to listen to. And then one of the other final gameplay moments is, a lot of people have mixed opinions about this one. I like this gameplay mode, but it does need to be tweaked a little for improvement. You have to do the closing arguments section, where Makoto summarizes how the murderer committed his or her crime. And they do this by showing a manga pages, and you basically fill in the blanks with the available clues you have on the bottom, which doesn't sound that bad, and it's really not that hard to guess what goes where, except for the fact that the options that you have aren't always that clear or coherent, and or not that easy to understand. And as a result, you could mess up. And if you mess up, much like everywhere else, you will take credibility damage. Yeah, I believe that's what it is. I think that's what it's called. So yeah, if there was some way if they tweaked it to where it looks a little, it's a little more clear and concise on what clues I'm given to fill up the pages, then yeah, I would say it's not all that bad. But like I said, the one in the Sakura trial, well, the way they show Toko going into the locker, going out, it's almost the same picture sometimes. And after the trial's over, everyone casts their votes, and Monokuma would say, "Yep, you're all correct. That so and so is the murderer, or as he calls it, is blackened." And that particular individual dies a very bizarre, unique punishment that was tailor-made for them. In the case of the first murderer, Leon Kuwata, who is the ultimate baseball player, he gets tied up to a pole, and he gets bludgeoned to death by 1,000 baseballs. It's called the 1,000 blows, but he gets shot at. But the baseballs themselves, they get shot from one of those little baseball launchers that you see at batting cages. And it's just rapid fire all over his body. Meanwhile, Monokuma himself is actually hitting the other baseballs by with the bat, like he's. It's a very silly thing to look at. They try to play this up for dark comedy moments, but Monokuma, he's just swinging the bat constantly, hitting baseballs into Leon's face just for the hell of it. And obviously Leon dies. Everyone's shocked and horrified. They even show a reaction shot of Monokuma getting hit, of looking horrified, but I'm pretty sure he's just phoning it in. If somebody would just quickly notice and get a quick chuckle out of it, if they're not too shocked at what happened to Leon. But yeah, the punishments are pretty brutal. But I do have some criticism about how the violence is portrayed in that game. For starters, let me point out the one thing that's really the most bizarre. Somebody had a weird design choice. I actually want to find out why they did this, but all of the blood in the game from the dead bodies of the murder victims is pink. No, not lightish red. We're talking full-on Pepto-Bismol Klingon Star Trek 6 blood. I am not sure why they did this. It can't be for censorship reasons because the game is labeled M for mature. And a game that bloody, which isn't very bloody at all, would definitely pass for an M rating. The only way it would have gotten any higher is if there was a lot of sexual content on it, or that's the only way I could see that happening. And Corpse Party, which is another visual novel game, is rated M for mature and shows a lot of blood and gore. So it's obviously a visual decision for the crazy pink blood. I heard they did this in the anime adaptation as well. Which I will check out sometime in the future. I mean, I played the video game. I want to check out the anime, maybe show it to my friends who don't have a PS Vita. But I could show them the story of Dangan Ronpa. So that's a little bizarre. Another thing I want to point out is that and you know what? Come to think of it, Danganronpa isn't really that bloody of a game. But then again, I'm desensitized to a lot of violent anime video games and whatnot. So this is actually pretty tame for me. But in fact, some of the punishment trials in the game, like Mondo's punishment and Celeste's punishment, weren't even really that bloody or gory. They were pretty fucked up punishments, but they weren't that bad. But yeah, I just don't understand the pink blood thing. It can't be for censorship over localization over in the States. It's got to be because I think this is also in the Japanese version as well. But whatever. Doesn't really pull me out of the video game that much. And I think I discussed all of the gameplay elements I needed to mention. Comments on the the music I get, the soundtrack. I definitely like the music in this game, especially this one music piece that plays during the daytime. It would also play at the beginning of the game where everyone's introduced. Now, for the voice acting, I don't have any issues with the English dub, although some people might because they've already seen it in Japanese or they've probably seen fan dubs of it, which do exist. But me, I didn't see either, or so the experience wasn't that cheapened for me. What I do have an issue with is how the voice-over work was recorded. In every other part of the game that isn't the class trial, what they did was record they record reaction lines kind of similar to what Persona 4 did during the social link moments. And that wouldn't be so bad. But sometimes I've actually seen here record dialogue that would seem like half a sentence. They would actually say half a sentence of the text that appears on screen. Like Leon actually did that at one point after the first trial was over, and it's obvious that that the voice work wasn't fully utilized in this game, like Virtue's Last Reward was, where almost every spoken line of dialogue in that game was actually recorded. Only a few actual lines of dialogue were recorded. most of the voice acting budget definitely got poured into the class trials, where all the lines are recorded 100% and everything. So yeah. One thing I actually do like is whenever you talk to a group of characters during the idle moments of the game, um, the way they handle the characters on screen is that instead of having a static background and just swap the characters in between, the camera would actually pan to the left or to the right to see if there were some people to the next person who wanted to speak. And I actually really enjoyed that because it does give me a more immersive first person view on perspective. And the game is, most of it is in first person point of view, especially when you explore around the school and whatnot. I guess the final thing I could talk about is, my thoughts on how the game ended. Now, when they revealed who was behind Monokuma, who is the mastermind behind all this, the reveal really did not. I was not at all surprised at who was behind it. I was surprised on how it was how the person was able to execute everything. But I wasn't really surprised at who was the one behind all this because the way it started out at the beginning. First off, the person behind Monokuma, the person who responsible for trapping everyone at Hope's Peak and getting them through these fucked up games and stuff, is Junko Enoshima, the ultimate fashionista. I kind of had a clue that she was the one responsible because, get this, before the first trial began, or before you even started investigating the first trial, Junko in the classroom was actually getting really pissed off at Monokuma, saying that there's no way that she was going to do any of this, go through with the trials and investigations and all that shit. And Monokuma reacts by having her speared to death. So yeah, her body twitches, she falls, she dies, and I'm like, they killed her off too early to just make her just another, just to be meat to the grinder, especially since they spent a whole lot of time, giving these characters backstories and whatnot. It's just, like, I just saw that coming a mile away. But again, later on, it's how they did it, which also kind of slightly disappointed me a little. But after Sakura's trial, Kyoko mentions a 16th student by the name of Mukuro Ikasaba, who is supposed to be the ultimate despair, which is one of the major themes of this game. You are going to hear the words hope and despair a lot in this game. But then again, if you didn't play the game and go into spoiler territory, boy, I hope you're not offended. That spoiled everything. But after Kyoko reveals that there is another 16th student by the name of Mukuro Ikasaba, another dead body's been found, but it's not one of the other surviving victims. It was something completely new. They tried to figure out who it was. The person was wearing a mask. However, the mask was tied to a bomb. The body gets torched. Only like the lower half seems to be doing all right. But anyways, trials, clues, all this crap later, it turns out that that dead body was actually Mukuro Ikasaba. And she was actually disguising herself as Junko Enoshima, because the real Junko Enoshima is behind is piloting Monokuma. However, so Junko reveals herself, and she revealed that she just killed her twin sister because she didn't think she would, do a good job in her little grand scheme of all the things. And Junko herself, the way they revealed her true form was actually really interesting. When you did the trial of Mukuro Ikasaba again, Monokuma drops a clue to everyone, and the clue is that apparently everyone has a photo of group shots of all the of all the students of Hope's Peak Academy, except for the person, and everyone is shown on the photo except for the person who received the photo, and each one's got like a different photo. The one I'm showing right now is what Makoto received. One of them had them hanging out at the outside in the track and field area. Another one had them hanging out at the swimming pool. It was basically for Monokuma to throw everyone else off and have everyone just distrust each other. And what was really interesting about this clue, about that clue, and something I noticed right away, is that Junko's face was obscured in all the shots. That is because Junko's appearance is not the same as the Junko that appeared early in the beginning of the game. I thought she was originally going to have something painfully noticeably different about her. Like, she would have like different completely different, differently colored and shaped eyes, or a hideous scar or something. But when they revealed when she reveals herself, the changes weren't that different at all. Like, Mukuro had freckles on her face, but Junko didn't, and her eyes were were a little shaped differently. And her outfit is very similar to the fake Junko's outfit, but there are some slight changes here and there. For example, the fake Junko, she wore like a bunny hairpin on one of her twin tails, and a bow and a big red bow tie on the other one. This one, she actually has two different hairpins of a black bear and a white bear that kind of look like two different Monokumas. So her appearance, so I did like how they were really subtle about her appearance when they make the big revelation. And Junko herself is a fucking nut bar. She would always like switch different personalities on you. Like on one, she acts like a high and mighty queen. Another time she acts like a innocent little girl. Or she would talk like a punk rocker and drop F-bombs every other second. She does have a lasting appeal when it's revealed that she's the victim. She's not going to be someone I'm going to forget real easily. And she just reveals a whole lot of messed up twists. One of them instantly reminded me of the big revelation Virtue's Last Reward, which I'm not going to talk about in this game, or I'm going to talk about Dangan Ronpa, because that would also in a way spoil Virtue's Last Reward. But I gotta say, holy shit, that's pretty messed up what happens. So, after you revealed who the killer Mukuro Ikasaba was, then you have to play the rest of the trial out to see if you could get everyone to vote on the side of hope or vote on despair. And if one person was to vote despair, Hope loses and Makoto dies. But if everyone votes Hope, Junko has to accept punishment. And trial plays out. The trial plays out a little normally, but man, when all those things were revealed, I was just really bummed. I actually felt for most of the other characters when they found out what happened to them and stuff. I really did. I actually did feel for them. I was like, son of a bitch, that happened. But anyways, Makoto manages to talk everyone out of, talk them into believing in hope once more. Everyone's like, you know what, we're not going to stay in this academy any longer. Oh, by the way, that was another thing. If despair wins, they have to live the rest of their lives in the school. If hope wins, they can finally, be set free. They can finally go outside. But anyways, Makoto convinces everyone else. And Hope wins, Junko loses. However, Junko got super excited over the fact that she lost, because this is like what this is. Her reactions were almost orgasmic, because this is like complete and total despair for her, and she actually wanted to do the punishment on herself so badly. So Junko willingly decided to put the punishment on herself. Oh, by the way, this screen cap right here, that's just a still image. In the actual game, her eyes are actually swirling in real-time motion, and it's really creepy to look at. Very creepy to look at. Well, anyways, she gives herself the punishment, which is actually a compilation of all the other punishments that every other blackened person has been hit with. So she gets 1,000 blows by the baseballs. Then she goes into the cage of death, being electrocuted. Then she gets the burning, the burning of the Versailles witch, which was Celeste's punishment. Then she gets hit with the construction. Then she gets the construction worker death. And by the way, when all this was happening, she was having a huge happy smile on her face, even when she was getting hit in the head with the excavator at rapid speed. She was smiling while big stars were in her eyes, and she also gets the rocket the blast off punishment, which was actually shown in the prologue of the video game, the very first thing you see in the game actually when you start it. And then she finally gets the punishment that was made for Makoto, which is the after hours detention punishment. And that punishment is it's a desk on a conveyor belt going to a large, smashing pressing a pressing machine. It's a classic James Bond looking trap. Basically, anyone who gets under it is smashed into pancakes. And she was just slowly going into it while smiling and hugging a Monokuma stuffed bear, waving goodbye to everyone. And what's really funny is that the pressure was actually still going at a regular, rhythmic, regular speed. But when she finally gets under it, it delays for like 3 seconds. Then Junko looks up, going, "Wait, what is going?" And then she finally gets hit and gets smashed to death. So the escape switch is picked up, and the remaining survivors, Makoto, Kyoko, Byakuya, Yasuhiro, Aoi Asahina, and Toko Fukawa escape, and then they head to what's awaiting for them at the rest of the world. Credits roll, and then all of a sudden it turns out Monokuma is still alive. Or they have a little post-credits tease, obviously setting up for the sequel, which I am looking forward to very much. And those are my thoughts on Dangan Ronpa Trigger Happy Havoc. Really fun game. Probably going to be my game of the year 2014. Or the sequel might be. Who knows? Definitely looking forward to more of this. Really am a fan of this game. Did not disappoint at all. And before I wrap this up, I want to talk about one more thing that actually got me laughing. Now that I knew the whole deal is with Junko and Mukuro Ikasaba, when I decided to play school mode for the first time, the first character I decided to interact with was quote-unquote Junko Inoshima. And whenever I used my trip tickets with her and stuff, and just went in there with the mindset of, I know she's actually the ultimate soldier, not the fashionista, I got a few laughs, to say the least, because Junko, quote-unquote Junko, would actually accidentally blow her cover from time to time. When you hang out the rec room, she actually constantly complains that there's been a lack of FPS games that are available to play with. There was one other time where she actually mentions a rifle collection, but the one that got me laughing the most is if you take her to the garden and then you choose the line of dialogue, "There's a lot of green around here," she would actually say something like this. She would actually say something along the lines of, "Yeah, there is a lot of lush green out here. Reminds me of my old ghillie suit. I mean my Grouch suit. When I was a kid, I used to dress up like Oscar the Grouch." No, I'm not kidding. She actually says when she was a kid, she used to dress up like Oscar the Grouch as a cover-up. So yeah, if you play the game and go through play school mode, I suggest interacting with her first. Some hilarity will ensue. Alright, with that said, Dark Scream 217 signing out.